Greg Carson here, coming to you with another how-to video.
Back to the channel, guys. Greg Carson here, coming to you live from the shop about
Hey guys, Greg Carson here. Have you guys ever wondered how...
Have you guys ever wondered how you can increase your traffic?
Hey everybody, what's happening? This fine Saturday weekend is upon us, thank goodness here. Raining again in Minnesota. But like we talked about yesterday in the video, today we're installing the auxiliary fuel tank into my 2022 Chevy Silverado 1-ton. So I'm going to show you the things you'll need to get started. Very minimal. First of all, hey Lexi, you got to say hi to the viewers. First things on the list is you need a shop dog. That's correct. So anyway, we have this is our 45-gallon transfer fuel tank. The only tools necessary are this handy drill right here with this electrician's auger bit so you can bore different size holes, something to cut your filler neck with. I picked this up 2 or 3 years ago. I like this little guy. Uses a Sawzall blade, but it goes into a little handheld handle made by Milwaukee. And you'll just need a flathead screwdriver, some Teflon tape. Make sure your Teflon tape is diesel fuel friendly. There's a difference. And I use a little bit of masking tape for marking. What we're going to do to start out with, we're going to crawl underneath this bad boy and we're going to access what's called the filler neck. In case you don't know what that is, on modern day diesel trucks you have DEF fluid, you have diesel fuel. This right here that your fuel fills into is called a filler neck. Let's climb underneath and I'm going to show you what that looks like. Here we go. Climbing underneath, boys and girls. When you look up, what I pointed to, this is underneath the truck right here. This is the one that fills your diesel fuel. So what we're going to be doing, different angle of it right here, we're going to be cutting a section of it out to accommodate for the installation kit. So we'll show you what that looks like in just a second. Now this, boys and girls, as you can see here, is your auxiliary fuel tank install kit. It's very, very simple to use. This one obviously is made for my truck. You can see it's 2011 on up, made for GM. You get a couple pieces in here. You get these hoses right here, which we're not even going to use, and I'll show you why. You get your transfer flow line right here. This is the piece I showed you that we're going to cut into the filler neck. Now, crucial thing about this piece. Oh, hose clamps. I know you're not probably going to be able to hear it. This piece, this brass piece on top, is a combination. Your fuel is going to fill itself right into this nozzle, but the reason this whole piece is in here is because this is what they call a rollover vent valve. So if your truck were to get in an accident or you were to tip it over on its side or upside down, this is going to go with it. There's a ball inside here that closes the valve, so fuel can't backflow or spill out of here. So that's the whole reason of that. Now, the reason you want that Teflon tape that's rated for diesel fuel is because right here, this term always cracks me up. It's a petcock valve. That's right, petcock. I didn't make up that name. That is going to thread right into this bung right here. And that's going to be the valve that turns on and off your fuel. We're going to show you how all that works. First, we're going to take our marking tape. We're going to take this guy right here. We're going to take this guy right here. We're going to go underneath the truck. We're going to make some marks of where this will go, and we're going to install it. All right, guys, since it's obviously hard to position the camera to sit still to film all this, you see I've got my filler neck right here like I showed you. I held this piece up like so, and I marked with tape how much I want to cut out of there, because we're going to splice this piece right into that filler neck hose. All right, guys, we're about ready to start cutting. So what I wanted to also show you was I just take a small block of a 2x4 and I shove it in between that line. This is our fuel line, the bigger one, On your truck, it might look like this, it might be different. That little line right there is your DEF fluid if you're running a diesel truck. So you want to space those out so you don't infringe on that whatsoever. But again, we're going to be taking this guy right here. We're going to quickly buzz right through there and right through there. And we'll splice in that T connector for the fuel line. All right, guys, we have our T connector plumbed in. As you can see, I have the ball valve or the rollover valve at the very top, angled slightly back, which is fine because it's just going to allow fuel to trickle into that filler neckline and then into your tank. We've got our hose clamps on each side, nice and tight. What we're going to do now is we're going to go back up. We're going to prep the tank. And we're going to connect right here to the filler port of that brass fitting. And we will almost be done.
And as I mentioned earlier, guys, we're going to be doing this what's called gravity fed. That means we're going to let the weight of the fuel act with gravity, and it's going to push itself down into the main tank. That's why we're going to use this port right here. There's another option on these tanks, which is right up there. That's if you want to run an electric fuel pump or an electric transfer pump. That sits on top of that port right there, and you can connect it to your vehicle, or you can have an external battery, but it's got a pump just like at a gas station that winds up. You can pull that out, hit the switch, pull it around to the side where you fill the truck, and use it like a gas pump. For me, when we go on long trips and drive, we'll usually travel about 250 miles or so before we stop with the dogs. You know, we're cruising around 65, 68 miles an hour while pulling the camper. And at that point, that's about when my tank will read a quarter full after about 250 miles. So at that point, when we stop to let the dogs go, I'll flip the petcock on the fuel tank and I'll let that start draining into the main tank.
Well.
Why am I holding my rifle? I'll tell you why. When you live out in the country, you got to put up with critters. We've had a pair of skunks coming around lately. And we got dogs. I'm underneath the truck, and I hear something. I look behind me. There's Pepe Le Pew, 10 yards away, staring at me with his tail up. No. So we've got that plug removed from the tank, and as you can see, we've got our Teflon tape rated for diesel fuel wrapped around this petcock. You want to make sure that that hole is wide open. I've seen some guys take their Teflon tape and wrap it all up, and they end up halfway plugging that hole so their fuel can't drain into the tank. When you're done, this is what it should look like. You want to position your petcock so this sits straight up and down. That way you can work your switch right here. This is obviously off. When it points forward, that's for the flow. You don't want to over tighten this, you guys. Once it starts to get snug, you just want to roll this up until you're perfectly parallel like this. Now what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to feed our fuel line from the transfer tank into our main tank. That's going to look something like this right here that comes with your kit. You're going to get the right size hose clamp. We're going to feed that hose right onto the petcock, and we're going to slide the hose clamp onto it and tighten it down. When you got your fuel line on here, kids, it should look just like this. I'm going to show you a little trick I learned throughout the years of installing these tanks. One year, when I put my hose clamp on, I had it so the head of it was down here, and this excess was sticking up here, and I was on a trip. I went to open that up, and I sliced the old finger open. That's no fun. So what I started doing was holding this in place until it was all the way tight, and that this was laying flat upward like that, because when you go to open this up, that way, if you've got stuff in the back of your truck or you end up stepping on it, you don't bend this lever right here into oblivion. It keeps it straight. If you guys are wondering what kind of tank I'm putting in today, this is an RDS tank, transfer tank, auxiliary fuel tank. I run either these or there's another one called DZ. DEE-ZEE. I bought this off of Northern Tool. I believe this tank cost me $749, shipped to my door. I also got a $50 gift card just for buying this tank. The install kit that I showed earlier runs anywhere from $99 to $129 depending on your truck. So this is a 45 gallon, as you can see here. This was built on March 9th of this year at the DZ factory. They make a whole assortment of different sizes and shapes and capacities. Now, the one I showed you on video yesterday is completely opposite of this one. I want this one in this truck because I have a short bed. On a Silverado, these are 6'10". By the time you get your B&W companion hitch in the back or whatever you're using, you run out of room real quick like. And you want to have as much room as you can in the back of that truck in case you want to haul extra things like wheel chocks or blocks for putting underneath of your jack stands on your camper, just miscellaneous things. For me, I like to take the spare tire off from underneath and I like to store it in the back of the truck. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because if you get a flat tire out on a major highway pulling that bad boy, what are you going to do? You're going to crawl around underneath trying to get that spare lowered down as you change it on your truck? Heck no. That's another chapter we're going to cover. We've got our hose fed through the bed wall, and as you can see, I've got my rubber grommet placed around the supply line. Very important. Make sure you guys do that if you're going to be installing one of these tanks. You don't want your line to get all split up. You'll start leaking fuel all over. Now we are back underneath the truck. As you can see, there's the hole we just drilled. This is our supply line for the tank that's up in the truck bed. We're going to now connect to the T with our hose clamp right there. Okay, I might have jumped the gun a little bit. I forgot to show you a crucial part here, so forgive me. At the top of the tank, you're going to see another valve. Now this is pretty much the exact same thing as you saw underneath on the T. This is a rollover vent valve, but this also acts as ventilation for your tank. So if this builds up fumes on a hot summer day, the fumes will be able to evacuate right here. Now in most trucks in the front, there's already pre-drilled holes. Those are weep holes for moisture and rain. So I've got my grommet ready to go. I cut this to fit, so I cut it 6 inches longer so it can tuck down inside there. We're going to bore out that hole a little bit more, and we're going to tuck our vent line right inside there. Otherwise, you can see up here, we've got everything ready to go. I have easy access to the petcock for turning the fuel on or off. We're going to run our vent line right here. I do like this tank in particular because this one does have a fuel gauge. That other 45 doesn't. So let's get that vent line run, and then we will be done. And we are fully connected. This tank is now 100% usable. Again, you can see where we came through with our supply line in the earlier onset of this video where we spliced in our T. We have our DEF fluid line resting nicely off to the side. We are fully connected and ready for use. Hey guys, we got a last minute change of plans. I decided I'm going to put my 55 gallon back in here for the summer. And that's the beautiful thing about these tanks. If you want to swap out for bigger, smaller, different profile, all you got to do is just pull the fuel line off of that right there and connect your new tank. The reason I want 55 gallons is you see my skid loader back there for work. We burn through a lot of fuel. So now we're going to go ahead and install this one. So I haven't installed the fuel line yet in this truck. So you saw us plumb in the fuel line earlier. Now what we're going to do is go underneath, because we're going to have to go through the floor deck right in there somewhere in order to connect to the T in the filler neck fuel line. So let's go underneath and take a look. All right guys, so from up above, what we just filmed, you saw that notch in the floor right here. You could see that notch when we were just up standing in the bed of the truck.
And we know that we have to connect over here to our fuel line. So I'm going to go back up. Now that I saw this down here, we're going to figure out whereabouts we want to run our fuel line through the floor. I'm thinking that I might just come through right here so I can angle straight back onto our T in the line right here. So let's go back up and take a looky. From underneath the truck that you just saw, I showed you where that notch is as we're looking up from the floor to the very bottom underside of our truck bed, right? So here's that notch I showed you. The most optimal spot that I could see under there would be right in here somewhere. However, I don't want that wicked of an angle. So we're going to come back over to right in here. That way our hose has a very subtle bend in it, and we're going to go straight down through the floor right there. Now for your truck, you're going to want to confirm that that'll work out. So you got to go underneath and check everything out. So here's where we're going to drill through. We're going to go right through here. Now you always want to hold your phone or your flashlight. You see, we're clear sailing. Nothing obstructing underneath it. There we go. Now, you have your hole drilled to receive your hose. We're going to go right through the hole and we're going to connect to the T. Now keep in mind that when you go down the highway and move around, this is going to be a sharp edge, you guys. So what do you want to do there? Well, we're going to take a 3/4 inch, we're going to take a 1-inch rubber grommet and we're going to go around that hole, and then our hose is going to fit right through the grommet. You can pick those up at Home Depot, Lowe's, any local hardware store. Oh, we're done. About 27 minutes from start to finish. Hands are a little dinged up, a little dirtied up, but hey, that's part of doing it yourself, right? So the tank is all installed. I'm going to turn the camera because I want to show you guys how I've installed mine for 5 or 6 years now, and I've had absolutely zero problems doing it this way. Now, you're wondering, well, you didn't show about anchoring your tank down. That's because in a Chevy Silverado, you've got all kinds of D-rings welded to the frame. Now, what I've done for a long, long time, you guys, is I've taken a 2,000-pound rated ratchet strap and attached the tank to the back of the bulkhead. I've got some foam tape where it touches the back of the bulkhead on the truck. That has held it in place absolutely with no problems. I know there's probably some naysayers out there that are going to think differently, but what I actually do when I go down the road on a long trip is there's another set of D-rings back here. Let me crawl up here, you guys. There's another set of D-rings right down here. What I do is I take a 3,000-pound ratchet strap, I go up over the tank and right into the other one that's down there. That gives me 5,000 pounds of holding power. Now again, like I said, these come with foam tape. I've got it mounted right back there where it makes contact with the bulkhead, as you can see there. Otherwise, what the manufacturer calls out for are those 2 metal tabs, one right there and one right there. You have to line those up, drill through your box, get underneath and feed a bolt through both of those. And let me tell you, if you've never done it before, it is a pain in the asinine. I'll tell you that much right now. It's not fun. So, we're done. Thanks for watching, you guys. I hope this might have helped some of you out. We love, love, love having the extra, I'm crawling down, hold on. We very much love having the extra fuel capacity to travel. Again, 55 gallons in this truck towing that big camper equates to anywhere from 7 to 9 miles
a gallon. So that can increase your trip quite a bit. So if you're looking to do long distance driving and not have to make a lot of stops, we like doing that again because we double tow. And when you're double towing, that makes it a whole different game because you're running 2 trailers behind your truck. And that limits you to only being able to get in and out of the semi-truck lanes where they fuel up. And if you've never done that before, it's a bit of a pain in the keister, that's for sure. With this system, the reason I like it is because we can travel up to almost 300 miles before we have to switch over to the main tank, and we usually plan our stops to be able to drive when we leave our first point and get to our day's end destination. That way I only have to flip the tank one time. We get to our destination, which is usually anywhere from 400, about 425 to 550. That's what we'll do in a day sometimes. That allows me to be able to drive straight through to the campground that we stay at when we're traveling, unhook the truck, and then go fuel up. Makes it very, very convenient. For you guys running gassers, I don't know what to tell you. I know that there are some, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, I think there are 1 or 2 DOT approved fuel tanks that you can use for gasoline. I think I've seen a few of those, but I don't know anything about those. This is all regarding diesel trucks. So anyway, stick around, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you guys being here very much. Again, another rain day here in Minnesota, so that means shop day. Next weekend, I've got the mobile welder coming out, and we're going to put on that fabricated hitch that he is custom building for our camper to be able to double tow. So I'm going to cover that process with you guys, what all goes into it. We're going to wire in the lights to the back for the trailer. Until next time, we'll see you then. Bye.